Stuck like a limpet to a terrace, this battered Coast Guard's tower was abandoned nearly a decade ago when it became unsafe. For the last 2 years, it's belonged to Zaid and Fazana from Leeds. They saw it at an auction, and the winning bid? £175,000.
Can I ask what you're going to do with it?
We're going to rebuild it as a 3-bedroomed family home, and we have a cantilever structure.
From the very get-go, this project will be tricky. The tower must be gingerly dismantled because it shares utilities with the neighbouring terrace and a party wall with next door. To help the chunky cantilever defy gravity, Youssef and Zaid hope to drive concrete piles deep into the earth below and anchor their structure to hard rock. 122 pieces of steel will bolt together on this base, the top 2 floors jutting out nearly 4 meters to sea, which more than doubles the volume of its predecessor. Bracing the structure to prevent movement on this windy bluff is going to be crucial. An early design showed columns at all the 4 corners, but Zaid insisted he wanted an overhang, and that transformed his project from technically easy to super challenging. Glazed areas will be vast and will use an innovative bird-friendly glass to reduce impacts. Given the small footprint, the design has the staircase hanging in a box outside the building. Zaid's ingenuity extends to inverting the house so that the darker ground floor is for sleeping. A bedroom and a bathroom will sit on both sides of the stairs, which will lead up to the family bathroom and Zaid and Fazana's light-filled bedroom. And saving the best for last, the top floor will be the family's living room and compact kitchen that bring you into the most exciting contact with the powerful presence of the sea and the natural world.
So how long do you reckon it's going to take?
10 months.
Zaid is 9 months into his 10-month mega cantilever project, and they've only just started demolition due to a shocking ground survey that forced a complete redesign of the foundations.
Fortunately, it looks like we're going to have to go for a huge lump of concrete and metal which is buried in the ground, almost acting like a counterweight for the cantilever.
The developer is now the official on-the-hoof project designer, but at least work can proceed, like demolishing the old tower bit by bit. They disentangle the services and the party wall shared with their neighbour, Vic. 4 noisy weeks later, they're still picking it apart. The end does come, but brutally. The site gets shut down after a visit from a planning enforcement officer. Zaid thought that keeping the party wall would retain enough of the old building to class the project as a renovation. The planners disagreed. 12 weeks pass until at last there's news.
So we resubmitted the identical planning application, just changing conversion to demolish a new build. Luckily, it went through.
Days later, proper construction can at last begin. Highly reinforced concrete footings are being poured to eventually support the steel superstructure in this windy location. As they lower one of the last steel sections onto its base, they discover that there's an almighty gap between it and the rest of the frame it should attach to. It looks like 2 bolt boxes are out.
We think we can get around it by re-drilling base plate.
New holes are called for, after which, to Scott's huge relief, it fits together. Some weeks later, when the internal fit-out contractor, David, comes to measure up, he stumbles on a structural issue. There's nothing for some of the glass to sit on.
This is the concrete line, this is the steel line, which we can all see. The glass line is on this line here. It has nowhere to sit.
Not only does Zaid want heavy double glazing mounted onto a new welded ledge, but also no ugly supporting frames. The calculations sadly rule out frameless glazing, even with an extra welded-on ledge, so work stops again. At last, as another winter begins, the site reopens and window frames start going in. But the glazing will not be straightforward, because beyond Zaid's front garden is one of the UK's largest seabird colonies. Understandably, planning are insisting on anti-collision glass. These huge panes look normal, but they're covered in a UV pattern. But the saga of the bird glass drags on. It takes 8 months for the panes to be imported from Germany. And at last, on a windless day in spring, they can be installed.
When you're ready, we'll start taking it around, and yeah?
Over 2 days, 12 fragile panes, some 2 meters by 3 meters wide, will be flying through the air. They battle the wind, And as the second day draws to a close,
there.
so does Zaid's window nightmare, which has cost him £84,000.
Last one, all done.
Over 5 years ago, Zaid and Farzana set out to replace a grim Coast Guard's tower with a powerful, cantilevered new home.
This building still has the spirit of the Coast Guard station about it. It's quite heroic the way that it looks out to sea that way.
The lookout's ground floor now provides comfortable guest sleeping quarters, all very cosy and enclosed. Now there's a second snug bedroom and 2 bathrooms. Upstairs, Zaid and Farzana's cantilevered main bedroom awaits on the first floor.
Oh, this is your room.
Yes.
Lovely.
The decoration is deliberately understated. It can't compete with the drama out there.
It's stupendous.
1 floor up and everything changes.
The horizon just rises up and up and up, and you see more sea. It's like you can see another 60 miles or something. I can't remember how much you said you were going to spend.
325.
And you spent,
About 375.
which isn't too bad. In a nutshell, what are you building?
There was a historical malt house on the site in the 17th century.
Yeah.
Malt house.
Yes.
Yeah.
For making malt to make beer with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so part of the approval is to reinstate that historical context that was once here
How interesting.
in the form of a modern home.
The malthouse aesthetic will come from 25,000 handmade bricks, some distinctive brick piers, typical narrow windows and a slate roof. And then, audaciously slicing through the malthouse, a glass and corten steel portal will connect the front door to an oversized statement, a giant 30-metre wooden pergola next to an equally large pond. On one side of the hall will sit a large kitchen diner with a wall of glazing overlooking the garden. At the far end of the house will be utility spaces and a garage, and in the middle, the sitting room, a triple height space with an overhead walkway strung across it.
How much do you pay for this land then? This beautiful acre?
135.
Sorry?
135.
135,000?
Yeah.
We did
sure?
our research.
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
sure.
we did our research, and the farmer who owned it helped us out, obviously.
How much are you going to spend on the house itself, building it?
700.
That's all in, is it?
All in,
All in.
and that includes a contingency as well.
That's everything. Yeah.
Everything.
700 tops, plus 135,000 for the land. That's 835 grand. Where does all that come from?
Build costs will come from a mortgage. So the mortgage is 660,000.
I mean, standard bank rates might be, say, 4.5 at the moment, but for self-build, I imagine it's quite a bit more.
Yes.
How much are they charging you?
So close to 7% now.
Jeez.
It's around £3,000 a month.
Okay. So you really, really do want to finish quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you could save yourself a stack load of cash by finishing early, terminating that self-build mortgage early, and then presumably converting to a standard
Correct.
rate.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And how long is that going to take then?
From start to end with the build?
Yeah.
We're hoping 18
18
months.
months.
18 months. So 40,000 in interest across the project. 18-month project. If it goes over, you'll be really cursing, won't you?
It is mere hours before the first problem rears its head. Thanks to a row of conifers on site, building control have stipulated that the nearby foundations be dug down 2 metres, far deeper than anticipated.
How many more cubic metres of concrete are you going to have to then buy, do you reckon?
Probably looking at a good 10 cube, possibly more.
So your client's paying.
More than likely, yeah.
Be close to £4,000 of extra concrete. Unfortunately, it's just one of those costs that we've had to swallow. It's never fun just pouring more unnecessarily money into the ground.
But a few days later, a problem surfaces. The foundations are supposed to be complete, but a vital job's been left undone. The perimeter levelling of the foundations in blockwork around the whole building.
The groundworkers team said it's not in their responsibility and they're not bricklayers, so they wouldn't do it. The brickies on site have said that groundworks teams would do it. That's not going to solve the problem though, is it? And that's something that Zara and I are both learning about as we go through this process.
That fraught complexity and incipient chaos I warned of is beginning to set in. To be fair to Giuliano and Zara, they did say it would take 18 months, and I'm here 2 months early. So is it even finished? Nice. Of course it is. So sharp.
It puts on quite a show. And the ceiling here is running to join with the pergola, which is the most fantastically majestic exercise in perspective. And it's ready and waiting for the aircraft to land, yeah? It's just... What's that? Oh, my word, it's a living chandelier.
Yeah. I really wanted to bring the feel of Singapore.
It's very strong. Nice big spaces. The table's fabulous. It's like just a big slice through a tree.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is.
To the other side of the hall sits the impossibly high sitting room, open right up to the building's ridge.
Wow, lovely room. Lovely view of the pond. And then you get this extra layer above there through that glazing. You've got all this contact with the sky. The space comes into its own.
We've had to give up every single weekend for the past 14 months. Zara, for example, I have no idea how she functions on 3 hours of sleep.
I don't know how many couples could do this. Tell me about money. You wanted to be in for 700,000.
623.
No. You've come in under.
Yeah.
How?
Our hand's been forced by the state of the economy and interest rates, and it basically doubled in interest.
Yeah.
We started to get to thinking, okay, can we even afford the monthly payments? And so we made the decision to not take down the last stage of the mortgage and try and finish it as much as we could on our own. I've always been told nothing is given, you have to earn it. And so we've had to sacrifice big time for this.
It's coming ahead of programme and it's coming under budget. Credit where credit is due. Very, very well done.
Giuliano and Zara's tenacity, resilience and sacrifice have more than left a mark on this home.
The difficulties of making a disability access home while at the same time making it remarkably beautiful. I don't know if a building can do that. I'm not sure whether or not it can, in the end, answer everything asked of it.
Cara was diagnosed with neuromyelitis optica, or NMO, a rare autoimmune disease that can flare up and cause irreparable damage to the central nervous system.
I want to have a beautiful home that works for me, that is functional. I want functionality and style to marry up and create a beautiful house for me and my family. It's going to give us the joy in life that I don't necessarily have now.
Set on the site of the old stable block on a steep slope, a perfectly level groundworks platform has already been built up at the front and cut into the hill at the back, beneath a long stone retaining wall. Structurally insulated timber panels will form the walls, and 5 laminated timber beams will allow the interior to be open, tall and large. Wide accessible doorways will lead you across flat floors to an open living room with views across the valley, and a dramatic roof light atop an audacious pyramid. The tall kitchen will have one wall clad in local reclaimed bricks, and the aim is to incorporate accessibility into the design. Any mobility aids will be super subtle. The floors will be ultra-flat and threshold-free for wheelchair access between the 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a therapy room and a small office, which will give onto a sheltered courtyard at the back. All these spaces have to be accessible, practical and beautiful. The gable ends will be clad in the stone from the old stable block that once stood here, while an overcoat of zinc will wrap the roof and the other elevations. So there can be no mistaking this for anything other than a modern building. Johnny will project manage while Cara designs the interior, a shared adventure to wrangle a beautiful new future, a wheelchair accessible path down which they have never been before. Of course, there is still one big obstacle to any future happiness: money.
So I think the timber frame was about £80,000. We're going to be skint. We need to borrow some money.
If they don't find the extra £100,000 missing from their 380 grand budget, the freedom this timber shell represents will almost certainly be more elusive than they hope.
Well, it is magnificent. All that zinc looks amazing. Far more than I thought there would be. Gosh, I think they've done such a beautiful job.
The crisp zinc cladding is softened into the hill with a wildflower roof and bookended by the local stone gables. It is a faultless, fresh chunk of 21st century Yorkshire. As rooted, proud and as hard-working as the couple who built it.
Hello, hello!
Very good to see you.
Look
at you.
How are you doing?
Yeah, brilliant. I love your hair.
Oh, thank you very much.
Great. You're looking both very, you're
Kevin.
both very smart. I like the gold door. And super flat floors everywhere, yeah?
Everything's completely level.
Oh. With that great view out there.
Took a lot of work, but it was worth it.
An open, accessible space with level floor and a raised firm sofa for Cara to easily transfer onto. All beneath a palatial glazed pyramid. Every socket and switch has been considered.
This is a self-built home, but you know the moment you walk in that it's built by an electrician.
Yeah.
Where do you get these?
Just online, they're probably 40, 50 years in terms of when they were probably last used. I think there's something special about, you know, reusing something that's had a former life.
This is a really good width for you because it's safe and wide. It's also it's good height for me to sit at. Is it good height for you?
Yeah, it's perfect.
I've never seen you without your chair.
Yeah, I know. This was one of the first things that we specifically designed for the house. And it's lovely because I grew up playing in these fields. And now I can watch the kids doing it. This building gives me freedom. It means that I can do all the things that I've been longing to do. You know, I don't feel trapped. Me and Johnny have tried to show that just by thinking a bit harder, you can make accessibility work. I wanted it all, and I've got it all and more, Kevin. Got it all and more, yeah.
However bold the ambition contained within these walls, all construction is underpinned by fierce reality. For Cara and Johnny, their biggest fear was always money.
Everything jumped up and it just seemed like the material list was never ending.
How much then did you spend all in?
About 400,000, I think, all in. We'll never spend money like this again, you know.
Are you excited about the future?
Yes, I can see it all happening now. And I can see me being a part of it, not just watching from the sidelines. I'm in the centre of it.
Doing it.
Yeah, and it's just such a happy feeling. It really, really is. Yeah.
What are you planning to do with this?
We are building a new house, a very environmentally friendly house that promotes well-being through its interconnection with nature.
I developed a number of autoimmune type of conditions, and that's really the drive for some of the health aspects that Tony's bringing into the house, and to have a space that allows me to be able to heal as much as possible.
Stress is a big problem with autoimmune. During the course of the project, your health might be tested.
I'm sure it will. It already is being.
Okay.
The first task facing this pair of health-seeking dreamers will be to demolish their old 1960s bungalow. A highly insulated raft foundation of polystyrene and concrete will then form a U-shaped footprint onto which 170 prefabricated wooden panels will be slotted together to form the structure. The house will be separated into two wings that will wrap around a central atrium, conceived by the architectural designer Nigel Heffernan as a way of bringing nature right into the living space. The east wing will contain two self-contained apartments, allowing Tony and Ara to earn an income and share their therapeutic work with guests. Ever the unconventional couple, they will each have separate quarters in the west wing. Tony's one-bed apartment with its own kitchen and bathroom downstairs, and Ara's above. In pursuit of well-being, the house will have mechanical ventilation and biodynamic lighting to track natural daylight, so that on dark days it can still be sunny inside. Tony might be putting a brave face on it, but Ara is less comfortable with such a deep uprooting of the past.
I spoke to Betty about it while she was alive, and she said, you know, she'd be horrified if this was their forever home. I know that this is something Tony has to do. He has to do it his way, which is different to his parents' way.
And so 5 months pass. 5 months of scaffold hire and lonely work before the roof is sealed, decked with solar panels, and trimmed with a great big grey acrylic capping band. Yikes! But for Ara, who's just got back from Madeira, there isn't any time for celebration.
It was complete chaos when I got back, and way, way over budget. But I would reckon we're probably, at this stage, about 50 to 60 grand over budget.
So, there's no scope for bringing in any other workers. With her bags barely unpacked, Ara is drawn back into the project.
I caught a bit of a chill. I had 2 nights, whereas up till 8 o'clock in the evening, it's cold, painting, because we've got a deadline.
She's pulling out all the stops because the scaffolding's being taken away in the morning. But as the peak of that mountain appears through the clouds, Ara receives some devastating news that forces them to reassess everything.
I went to have a lump investigated that had been there for some time but was getting bigger. And I was told straight away that it was a cancer. I really just have to do the best I can to take care of myself and try and step back from the building.
The whole project started out as creating a house that promotes health and well-being. And from Ara's perspective, it's a house that has created pretty much the opposite of that.
I don't think I've ever wanted a couple to succeed in finishing their project as much as Tony and Ara. 4 years after pulling down the old house, a new and curvy home has finally asserted its place as the focus of this woodland clearing.
All of the lights in here do have the ability to mimic the daytime light. Even though we've got a grey day today, if you come and stand where I am...
Oh my Lord! What trickery is this? That's incredible.
Just move and you can see it jumps from one to the other. If somebody came for the first time, they would look here and think, this is a skylight.
There are illusions, too, in the way the house plays with space. The guest wing is generous, but on the other side of the courtyard, the couple's own quarters are quite the opposite. There's a bedroom for a monastic hermit, a humble kitchen, and a modest living space.
Tell me how you've managed to finish this building.
We went over budget 200k.
Where did that come from?
Various things that were originally allocated as pension funds and such.
Oh.
So what that has now done is placed a great deal more need upon the house to pay for itself through programs and retreats and exciting things like that.
Yeah. I can't think you found it very easy, have you?
No. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. Nobody could have predicted what was going to happen to me. And so now the path is to do peace and contentment and gratitude.
Yeah.
And I have so much to be grateful for. I mean, I live in a little piece of heaven. It's heaven round here.
It's my turn to get tearful now. I'm in awe of the pair of you. It's very tough and very wonderful of you to have got this far. I think that's just a great thing. This thing commanding the whole site.
It is a colossus poured from liquid stone, but never intended to be a home. Yet a home is exactly what Tassie and Adam, its new owners, want it to become.
Yeah, I've always had a dream, passion to self-build.
It isn't what we were looking for. We were looking for old farms or barns or something like that we could convert, and then we came across this.
I thought it was amazing. I still remember it.
Adam's always been confident. I'm a bit more like, oh my God, what have we done?
To tame and then domesticate this industrial relic will be a battle of huge proportions, and their plans are far from simple. The current structure is made of 12 thick concrete legs, tied together by 4 ring beams, including one in the ground. All this strength is to support a water tank engineered to hold almost 1,000 tons of water. Adam's plan is to dig out the old floor and replace it with a new concrete floor, but this time insulated and structural to support a heavy concrete interior. Crafted wooden formwork will be filled with a special mix to mould the exposed concrete walls of the ground floor. The top floor of the tower will be the open-plan main bedroom suite. 5 pours and over 250 tons of concrete will create a rabbit warren of 3.5 floors, connected by stairs, a slide, and a fireman's pole. It may seem extraordinary, but it's all quite pedestrian compared to their plans for the tank itself. Big enough to hold 2 3-bedroom houses, Adam and Tassie want to make a 2-floor luxury entertainment space with a swimming pool, a cinema room, kitchen, and an outside sky garden, formed by removing a quarter of the tank's roof. The ambition is spectacular, the materials unforgiving, and the challenge completely bonkers.
If it does go on too long, then we could grow to hate it.
Yeah.
Or each other.
This was never intended to be occupied by people, was it? Wow. It's weird. It's like being in a sort of huge cave. So how much of this roof comes off?
It's going to be nearly a quarter.
What?
Yes.
I'm not sure I would touch that roof.
There's not a doubt in the mind it's got to be done. Why have this space of living above your head and not do anything with it? It's...
Because it will kill you trying to change it. If you went a procurement route and employed a contractor, you get 5 blokes on site, 18 months to finish, right? Well, instead it's 1 man on site.
Yeah.
So at the very least, it's going to be 5 times 18 months, which is 7.5 years.
Plus I'm working full-time as well.
Oh, yeah, sorry, forgot that. Yeah, so let's just double it and say 15 years. It's been 5 years since these guys started this project, 2 years since I was last here, so what's the chance of them having moved in, eh? I mean, it's like they abandoned the site and instead a preschool playgroup have moved in. It's clear the tower has not been finished, but they are obviously spending much more time on site as a family, redressing an important imbalance on this project. But then, even small progress assumes epic proportions. A great big flying, it's like a sort of bit of castle. Great big sort of buttress curving tower wall. It's glorious because it floats. In engineering terms, just forming, shuttering to these curves is extraordinary.
It wasn't easy.
No.
Having watched them struggle for so long inside this stubborn concrete tube, it's hard to understand how Tassie and Adam can maintain their ambitions for this project. But there is a beacon of hope. Over 200 miles away, on the North Devon coast, there's a building that shows just how concrete water tower dreams can come true. Even so, I'm hoping that inside they might glimpse a sliver of what their own future home could be. I like the staircase. It looks really simple, but you just know to make it, it's not simple at all. There are no freshly poured concrete walls here, but 2 floors of comfortable contemporary accommodation holding 4 bedrooms. Up above this is the top half of the tank. 1 more staircase to go. And on the top floor, there's something to truly inspire them.
The ceiling looks awesome.
Yes! The ceiling is awesome.
Oh, and the lights.
Yeah, it's Tracy Island.
That's my cup of tea.
So do you know how much money you've spent so far on the project?
Probably 75 at the,
Yeah.
at the very, very
Or maybe just under. It's about doing something you haven't done before. Because if I was doing something I could already do that was cheaper and easier, it'd be boring.
I look at the pair of you, and as I've got to know you, I kind of I'm now betting on you doing this. In a way, I'll be surprised if you don't. All the hours you put in, that at every turn says to me, it'll happen. You'll finish. If there is one thing that defines a Grand Design's self-builder, it is that they are prepared to move to the margins of society, to leave the comfort of solid ground, and to leap into the unknown. Now, 25 years ago, in our very first episode, Tim and Jules did just that. They were the first to step up to the plate.
When's it due?
June, early June.
So, I mean, surely though, if you have the baby, it doesn't really matter where you're coming back home to, does it, afterwards?
Oh, it's being born at home. Home birth.
It's going to be born here. It's going to be born here.
This will be home.
Mark the spot
It's
for
going
it,
to be
if you
born
like.
in the dumper, probably.
Plot cost 86, and the house is going to cost around about 60, 70, I think, 1,000.
Right, and that includes decoration?
No.
Furniture?
No.
Garden?
No, quite.
Decking?
Decking, not quite. But
roof?
Yes, roof.
Roof.
It'll include the roof, electrics and plumbing, but basically that's just going to be the shell.
I mean, the baby comes, that we know that's going to happen. What happens if the house is not ready? Is that going to matter?
If it's finished in time, it would be wonderful. And if it isn't, then it's not as if we don't have anywhere to live. It would be quite possible for the baby to be born here. But Tim has his heart set on having the house finished, and there isn't any reason at this stage why that shouldn't be so.
It's the first day of work on site, and there's already a problem.
Building inspector's making us go down another ½ metre into the clay. And so you've got foundations deep enough to put a skyscraper now. And there's maybe signs of roots in there as well. And so they may have to put some sort of boarding to stop any root invasion in the foundation. Which could cost about another 8,000 quid, they tell me.
Just 3 days after the house arrived on the back of a lorry, it's up. With 9 weeks to go until the baby's born, Tim and Jules are over budget by £4,000. However, they're on schedule, but building is never that simple.
In here is the septic tank.
It is, isn't it? It's very rusty and dirty.
It's defunct, I'm afraid, and in here is all the decking.
What?
I can't afford to do both. I've got to revamp this or make a new one.
You're joking.
And the cost of the decking is going to pay for a new sewage system, I'm afraid to say.
That's really sad.
It is sad, but there you are.
Tim just didn't realise that his septic tank was unusable. A new tank is going to cost £4,000. On Tim's return, the new septic tank is going in. A solution there, but he's returned to more problems. The windows have been delivered, but they don't all fit. The reclaimed bricks arrive for the plinth walls and the chimneys. But even this doesn't go smoothly. One pallet load collapses, smashing 300 bricks, costing 70p each. And there aren't any brickies to lay the good ones either. By now, the relationship with Unique Homes is under strain. The real problem is that they're based in Bristol and are finding it hard to source and manage a local workforce. A whole week goes by without a single workman showing up, and it's up to Tim to fix it. Jules does finally have her baby at home. Unfortunately, it's the wrong home. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy, surrounded by her extended family.
I'm very run down. I've got no money. I bashed myself in the face on the mantelpiece. My Land Rover's head gasket is blown up. I've had about 4 hours sleep in as many weeks. Now,
This is amazing.
Our first ever Grand Designs house now has a rich and lush new setting, a forest that has flourished around it. It's full of curiosity and wonder and 25 years worth of stuff and life. It's beautiful. Yeah, I am well. How are you, Bax?
Oh, well, older but no wiser.
It's the same. You're the same. That's the wonderful thing.
Do you think so?
In 25 years, they haven't changed a thing. The living room retains its warm, inviting charm. Everything's very much still here. This house is pretty unchanged. Yet, of course, family life has softened the building's edges. Even the money-saving windows seem to have fitted in. Family photos and aging furniture serve as reminders of how this building has been a timber vessel in which so much life has happened. It sounds like Tiger, the baby who grew up alongside the house and its landscape, particularly benefited from Tim and Jules's wild forest creation. He's still at home, and at 26, he's a full-time paragliding instructor who also spends time raising a falcon.
What do you see it as? What do you see the building as being responsible for the last 25 years?
Life, our life, setting our children up to cope with the things that they might encounter in their lives, and having a blooming good time being here and being in the space and being with the family and being with each other.
I agree with her.
Good.